Welcome to this very special episode 36 of the Let's Talk Games podcast. My name is Dan. Next to me, the only Uncle Chunt. I cannot hear him at all.
Oh,
There you are. No, I can hear you. And Jamie, how are you, sir?
Oh, I'm all right. Don't mug you off there. He just didn't say anything. His mouth didn't move.
Yeah, it really put me off. Listen, this is a very special episode. Normally we have a nice structure to the episode, but this week we have some new equipment to talk about, and I think we should go with the one that has the longest. Talk about what we've been playing and talk about your new equipment, Uncle Chunt. Tell me, what have you been playing?
That's what this whole episode is going to be, is what have we been playing. This is a whole bunch of new toys. And it's exciting. As a 35-year-old man, I can sit here and talk about new toys. So I've got this giant box here in front of me, which is half the reason why it looks like I'm sitting in darkness. This thing doth have arrived into my life, Series X, and it's fantastic. It's pretty much all I've been using since launch. It's just as soon as I finish work, clock off, bang, right into the lounge, or I've got this thing here hooked up to my phone, playing at my desk during my breaks, of course, just in case work's watching or anything. So I've got my Series X hooked up here, playing some Gears, playing some Forza, some Gears Tactics, testing out Gears 5, all of it, all my fighting games, Power Rangers, Dragon Ball, all the stuff, Destiny 2, I've been playing that on here, and it's so fast now. All of it loads so fast. Like, I'm not sitting here waiting for Forza Horizon 3 to just load up, and go through my phone and see what everybody's saying for 3 minutes, and then, my game's here. And even playing on this mode with quick resume, I'm just like flipping back and forth through my games, just chilling, or if I'm in my bed or whatever, it's just all there. Like, I'm not even waiting for shit anymore. So good. Like, outside of Destiny and DC Universe Online, where they're like, persistent online games that you need to be connected to, the rest of it's pretty seamless. Like, I forgot that I stopped playing Gears Tactics last night, and swapped into Forza Horizon 3 today. And then when I finished work and went back out there into my lounge, I'm like, I'll pick up Gears Tactics, and I'm still like right in the middle of a combat that I forgot about, and it's just great. I'm really, really enjoying it, and it's worth the trouble of doing the mathematics for trade-ins and dealing with humans in stores and all that kind of stuff. Like, for those of you who are lucky that got one, you know exactly what we're talking about today in this episode. I have more to say, but we'll spread it around to give everybody an initial chance to share their love for their new toy. I only brought the box in here because my console's hooked up, and I refuse to move it. It's going to be there for the next 10 years as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, before we go on to like features and things, Jamie, I'll probably go on to you. You just got yours very recently. Have you managed to play much on it at this point?
Not a total amount, as you can see, mine.
I can't hear you.
Speak up.
You can't hear me?
Noise gate.
You're far away from your
must have
microphone.
moved it too far away from my face. The mine only arrived yesterday, so a whole 2 days late from Amazon here in the UK, which they graciously gave me £10 credit for. It's the hype for the first few days, which was really annoying. But no, I've not really had too much time to play anything. I set a load of shit installing yesterday once I got it kind of hooked up behind me, and I was like, right, just download everything. I played FIFA last night because, I've been saying to you guys for weeks, I've been waiting to start my Ultimate Team properly on there. And I'm currently unbeaten. So 14 games played, 0 losses, 1 draw. So apparently the level of player on PC is significantly better than that of console, which is pretty outrageous. But no, other than that, I haven't. I've just literally booted I've got my Xbox in front of me. I just turned it on while you guys were talking to see if everything else had installed. And it looks like everything has. Bad thing about it is, Chunt, and as you'll know, this is, like I said, like, there's not really anything there for me to play that I haven't played before. So yeah, I have got 19 gigabytes free in storage. I've used 97.6% of my hard drive space, and I've installed 18 games. So 18 games, old gen games, cap out my hard drive. That is the status of my next gen-ness.
Right.
It's not bad. That's not bad.
Well, in terms of games I've
terrible.
played, so I got the PlayStation 5. I started off while it was really cool when I was setting everything up. It asked us to put in a game if I wanted to start downloading while it was doing all of its stuff. So I put Spider-Man in there straight away, Miles Morales. While that was downloading, I tried some MLB The Show. I tried to look at the loading for Madden. And then I started Spider-Man, which I'll talk about in a minute. And I also played Astro Bot. Kind of towards the end. I didn't think I'd actually play Astro Bot by the time this episode started, but I did. Spider-Man, which you guys are probably more interested in, is they've made some good little quality of life changes with like the side missions that you do around things that you just go to combat. Combat is different just because of the venom power that you get with Miles, but you know they've created a way for him to be different. Not necessarily better or worse, but he has less gadgets than Peter Parker does. I will say it was a little bit jarring seeing the new Peter Parker for a couple of scenes towards the start, and then it was fine. Then he pretty much leaves, and that's pretty much it. But I want to talk kind of more about those games when I start talking about the features of the PlayStation 5. So I will ask you guys, of what you've played so far with these consoles, what is the feature that kind of stands out to you? The feature that makes it kind of all worthwhile just to have right at launch. Chunt, we'll start with you.
Oh, yeah, twofold. So the network speeds drastically improved. Like we've discussed previously, and people should know that the hardware bandwidth limitations have essentially just been removed. So previously on the Xbox One X, I'd be downloading games, 30 megabit down. I've got 100 megabit per second connection here, and I wasn't getting the most of it with last gen consoles. But now, like day one, I plugged it in. Every update downloaded so fast, and I was like, "What is this?" And as I was downloading games, it's like 100 megabit, 125, 145 some points. I'm like, holy shit. Like everything is just downloading so much faster. I know they said you can expect, better network performance, but goddamn, it just, I downloaded Gears 5 in like an hour, instead of 4 or something, it's ridiculous. But besides that, the quick resume, I was like, yeah, cool. Like in all the previews, I'm like, yeah, I'm sure that'd be great. But it's just there now, and it's snuck up on me a couple times and surprised me since. And I've swapped between like 5 different games. I haven't like tried to stretch it out how far I can, but just the games that have been bouncing back and forth between, they're all still there. Like they're not, I haven't run out, or it hasn't like crashed or anything on me. And I just love that feature. Everything I want to play, the bounce between is always going to be there. I don't have to sit there and wait for like loading screens or title screens, and unless I hard quit out of the game myself. I'd say that alone. And besides, like the projector that I'm using, it's not the highest tier projector, and it's only 1080p, but the visual clarity of it as well. I noticed it with the Xbox One X when I upgraded to that, and then this again, where it's like, all right, I'm using a 1080p projector, but the visual aspect that the Xbox like Series X is putting out is like top tier, but it's like sampling it down to making the image like that much crisper and clearer. And I was like, wow, it makes my half-assed projector look even better. So I'm pretty happy with that. Like everything just looks amazing. Like I think it's worth. I'm in a lot of forums and Facebook groups when people asking the same questions that those that don't have it yet, or any of these new ones. They're like, what's the difference? Like, it's not that much of a thing. I'm like, mate, you obviously don't have one. because when you get one, it's night and day. It is like a new jump. At least it was for me. I was like, holy crap! I don't regret jumping in day one, and I no regrets, man. I can't wait to see the next year or two. To see games really starting to kind of get their teeth into the hardware.
And Jamie, you obviously playing on PC a bit more, so you're used to having a beefy gaming rig. What are your thoughts on Series X and how it's running?
I mean, game-wise, I can't really speak to it, but feature-wise is, as Chunt said, the instant resume thing is ridiculous. So I've got a NVMe SSD in my PC, and I tend to only keep like the operating systems on there, but I tend to keep like the couple of games I play all the time on there. So like FIFA and Destiny are both installed on that drive, and the times obviously they're rapid. I haven't, as I said, played anything other than FIFA, and given that the version at the moment is this PC, there is zero load time between clicking to play a match. And Dan, you've played sports games, like you play that, and then there's like a little interim bit where the game's loading up and push start to actually play the game. That just doesn't exist. That screen doesn't even get a chance to load, and I'm talking about in online play as well, which is really weird. So the speeds are ridiculous. Again, the quick resume thing. I used it yesterday, so I'd kind of shut the machine off and went off and did life, and then came back yesterday evening, picked the controller up, pushed the button, and the machine just turned on. I was right back in the game where I left it. One click away from being even back into an online game mode, which was outrageous. Good. The other stuff I've not had too much time to really play around with as of yet, but speed of which that thing resumes is ridiculous. And the network speeds, again, I'm retreading stuff that Chunt said, but these are the highlights of what makes it next gen, right? So I think like where I am in my house, like I'm quite a significant distance away from our router, and we just got gigabit broadband, so it should be fast. And even when you account for how far away I am from the box, I think my signal strength up on this console, you can test your network speeds, and it comes up and it's like it's whatever percent. I've got 65% strength to the Xbox behind me, and I'm still getting sort of 300, 320 as a baseline download speed, which is absolutely outrageous. Like I'm sort of 2 floors up, several walls through, and that's mad. Like if I have no doubt if this was, say, hooked up via Ethernet, like actually to the router downstairs, or I was sat downstairs playing or something, like I can't even imagine the speeds that I'd be pulling. But considering I'm pulling 300 up here, that's outrageous to me. And yeah, you can download a game in like 10 minutes.
Yeah, well, in terms of the features, how fast this console, PlayStation, is running is ridiculous. Same thing with Madden with the loading time. So loading into the game probably cut about a third, I would say, in terms of how long it takes to get in, just to load it up. But when I go into the franchise and go to actually play in the league, normally what happens is it goes through an initial startup screen, and then you have like the 2 coaches comparable load on the loading screen. It shows like the coaches' stats, one there, who's better. Then it goes to maybe the quarterback, and then the halfback, and then the wide receiver, maybe some defensive people. It goes through probably about 6 before the game would go in. I started last night, went to play a game, got to the coaches, coach 1, coach 2, and then the game started. So I didn't even get to go through all the other players listed, because the game was just ready to go and ready to boot up. So that was pretty interesting. Because of the way that I went about in the games that I played in order. So I started off playing Miles Morales. So I finally got play around with this.
Hey, there he is.
And it was really interesting using like the triggers with the swinging, and you can feel the tension, and when he uses his venom powers, you can feel it going from one side of the controller to the other sometimes, but most of the time it was just it felt more like just a slightly advanced rumble. So, you're getting more rumble sometimes in the center of the controller rather than just say the handles or further up. So it does move across it a little bit more. I was like, okay, well, that's all right. But that doesn't really sound like what everyone else is talking about. Like it's like a little more advanced, and especially the triggers. And then when I was fucking around earlier, I just put on Astro's Playroom, and holy shit, that really took me by surprise after playing Miles Morales for I think 5 hours or something like that. And then Astros boot up, and just everything they're throwing at you in that game. And I know everyone has talked about it in reviews and stuff, but I'm going to try and. What I found is every time someone tried to talk about it, they would just say, "Oh, and when it was raining, it felt like rain on your control," but they never describe how it actually does that. So, for example, in one of the levels when it is raining, it's all a combination of the triggers, the haptic feedback, and the sound all happening at once. I feel like if you get rid of one, it probably takes away from the experience a little bit.
Right.
But the idea with the rain is that when you're playing it, it's doing little pitter patters like on the back of the controller, like just
Right.
throughout. Like you can feel little pitter pattering, and then little pitter pattering down the handles and on the underside, and that's how it feels like rain. And then the hail starts, and it's just a little bit more aggressive. So they do a lot of that. In it, you fly a spaceship. And so it's really easy for the first third, and then you just hear this click, and it's like you just click under, and then part of the game is there's rocket boosters. So the rocket booster comes out of the speaker, and it just ignites. So part of that is just how they're using a whole bunch of that different stuff in that game was pretty cool. One of that was you're climbing up. Doing like rock climbing type thing, and so you're hooking on with one trigger, and you're moving the controller to move the body up left and right to get their arm up there, and then it reaches one of the rocks that has a breakable thing behind it, so you can't grab on fully. You need to just slightly pull the trigger down, and then it will grab on, and then you have to move the person without pressing it all the way down, otherwise it just breaks. So that was it is really cool. It wasn't until Astros though that I really felt that. I think in Miles Morales it feels just a little bit more like a rumble. I played a little bit of 2K because 2K got actually delivered this afternoon, so I installed it. I played like a game or two. The issue with that is, so the things that they mentioned the other week with the triggers, you barely feel the rumble like once or twice. What I think has happened is because the haptic feedback is there's so much range to do it in, what would normally be a more aggressive rumble on like the PlayStation 4 controller is then less so in the PlayStation 5 controller, because I think it has so much more range that you don't feel it as much. But I'm very curious to see how they implement this stuff. And yeah, I can't wait, Jamie, for you to have a go of it when yours comes in a week or so. But I guess what I'll ask now is, do you guys have any critiques? Like, not necessarily negatives, but just things that you're either hoping that is the next thing that they update in the future, or things that you noticed out of the box that is a little bit odd. Any thoughts? I'm happy with whoever wants to go first with this one.
Well, I've probably got a bit more experience with the Series X than Jamie does at the moment. I
yeah,
can
you
jump
go
in.
for it, mate.
Yeah. I think it's just the common term that's going around lately is the elephant in the room, which is the lack of first-party exclusives for Xbox at launch, which is, it's a fair play. And Phil Spencer's been pretty candid about it in several interviews recently, where he's like, yeah, like that was on him, like he some mistakes and whatever, which is, it's good of him to say so, take it on the chin as the head guy. And yeah, like it is there. I do feel it, not gonna lie, and I am a little disappointed Halo didn't make it, but not retreading that story. It'll come when it's ready, and that's fine. But I've got so many games that haven't been played yet, and some that I've been purposely holding off, waiting for this, to play them, waiting to play them before I got this. Because I wanted to just get them at the best. They've been sitting there installed for ages, and I knew this was coming. Like Gears Tactics, I could have played that on my PC for months, but I was like, no, that's going to be my Gears of War thing that I want to play at launch. So I waited, and I'm really enjoying it more than I actually thought I would. It's not my typical game type, and like I said to you guys, I'm like unlearning 15 years worth of Gears of War games and playing this game, where I just want to run in and tear up some grubs and shit. But I've got to think methodically and strategize and look around the map and vantage points and shit. I'm not used to that kind of stuff. I just love to run in and go, like Halo as well. So it's been neat. And you mentioned the adaptive triggers and stuff for the PS5, and we've talked recently about how the impulse triggers that Xbox has, where people just haven't been using them. Like the developers are just doing baseline, matching, DualShock and Xbox Rumble for both systems just as a default, by what it sounds like, and they're just not really taking full advantage of it. But I noticed just little hints in Gears Tactics when you're bouncing around the map and chainsawing grubs and locust shots, and you're getting hit, or like thunder in the skies. You feel like rumble in the base of your palms when holding it, and they are utilizing more of the I almost said DualShock, more of the what do you call it, the rumble? It's going to call it rumble in this controller than I've been used to. And I tested a bunch before I got this, and of just standard games, and I looked up lists of games that support impulse triggers and the more vibration and rumble features that Xbox has to work with. It's not on the same level, but I will say, when they do utilize it, when going back to launch games and Gears Tactics in particular, Gears 5 to a lesser extent, and some of the Forza games, it is there and it's noticeable. And I was like, oh, this is, I remember how this feels. And I hope that with PS5 success, and hopefully developers taking the adaptive HD rumble stuff in the PS5, where it might just carry over to these cross-gen games or even first-party games, going, all right, let's just use what we've got. Let's utilize our impulse stuff and our rumble abilities, because they can do it. There's games I've noticed where it'll rumble around the controller, you only feel it in some parts, like when you're getting hit, or if you hit a side of a wall driving, only one side of the controller rumbles and the trigger kind of, not tension, but you can feel it in your fingertips and stuff. So it is there in some extent, and I really want it to come back. But yeah, I keep talking about Gears Tactics because I'm generally surprised by it. I wasn't intended to be. I was like, yeah, cool. It's another game with a Gears skin on it. I'll play it. Nice, But yeah, just the big black hole of a first party bomb to drop. That's the only kind of gripe I have with it. The console is a lot smaller than I thought it was going to be. Even on photos and size comparisons that you've seen, you never know what it really is like until you get it. Even when it's sitting there behind Jamie, it's it doesn't look big. It's not taking over any kind of visual. It's there as this mini monolith of I'm here and I'm doing my job, and I've got a nice suit on with my bright little monocle up there, and I love it, man. Even the optical illusion on top with the green coloring, I'm really stoked with it. I have no disappointments as far as the hardware. It just feels premium, the most premium thing I've ever had, out of any kind of tech. Even the controller, the new controller, I have no regrets getting rid of my Elite controller, because it's like a marriage of the 1S and the Elite controller. To me, it's got features from both and feels better than a standard. So yeah, I'm really happy with it. They just need to start getting those first party things cranking, man.
Yeah, Jamie, I was going to ask you, what are your thoughts on the controller and going for it? Because you normally use an Elite, don't you?
I used the new one for 4 minutes to do the setup, and then went, nah, and hooked the Elite up to it. It's I disagree a lot with that sentiment, Chunt, but obviously each to their own preference. But the weight and the heft and the sticks on the Elite controller are just this is the thing that gets me. I don't know if I can make it work. So on the Elite controller, that's like a smooth sound. You shouldn't be able to hear anything happen in there, right? Probably like noiseless when I'm moving that stick. This like you're not going to be able to hear it because of my noise gate, but like it's just it's noisy and I don't know, it feels, they are plastic sticks and the ones on the Elite controller are metal, so feels cheap to me. It does feel ergonomically better. I like the smaller fit. I'd definitely be keen for an Elite Series 3 that's in that form factor, that is a little bit more tapered and a little bit, a little bit wrap your hands around. But straight away, even when I was doing like setup, I was missing the trigger. So I have my my thing on the back here set to A. Quite often when I'm doing stuff, I can one-handedly like navigate through. And I missed that straight away, and I was like, nah, just stop even trying. It wobbles as well. Notice this, Chunt. It doesn't sit completely flat. So I had it rested on my desk, and I was typing away, like doing work, and I was like, what the fuck is that noise? Like, where's that come from? And I realized it was rocking back and forth as I was typing. Like it's... But yeah, the controller... Yeah, I'm keen to use the DualSense. I think that seems like it's actually done some stuff to improve controller ergonomics. But like Chunt said, it's the whole thing of the impulse trigger things, and all that's great. We need developers to do it. And I'm not... Obviously, the tech inside the Xbox controller is not as good, but it can still use some of it. And I'm pretty sure they can still program some of the Rumble functions to have a similar experience. So let's see the third parties really adapt it. But yeah, other than that, yeah, I've got... In terms of gripes, yeah, the games. Obviously, the games. There's nothing to play here that I haven't played before. I have installed a few games that have got the optimization that I'm keen to have a look at, like just to see how Gears runs compared to how it does on PC, but it's not a new experience per se. I am toying with grabbing Assassin's Creed. I've got 20% off with my Ubisoft account. So, you get like points with them. And by the way, anybody, if you're buying a Ubisoft game and you have Ubisoft points, you save 20% instantly by buying it from their website. Just by using the coins that you get from unlocking achievements in Ubisoft games. So do that, which is a significant discount. I know none of us have actually played this, but have you guys seen this stuff about the fact that you can start a Ubisoft game on any platform, anywhere, and then carry your save over to another platform?
Yeah,
that's ridiculous.
One guy's like, I was playing Assassin's Creed on my PS4, then my Series X came on, and I booted it up, and then my save game came across. I was like, wow, that's really cool. Why aren't more people doing that?
I think the only thing with that is that your achievements or anything don't come with it.
But you
so
think once you
actually
load your save file, maybe they'd all pop.
Yeah, well, apparently what they're saying is that the systems themselves need to pop on their own networks. So you can bring your save over, but you're not necessarily going to get all the achievements or trophies with that. I did forget to mention when I was talking about the controller before. There was this really cool part in Astrobot in the level where you had there was this big gust of wind coming in from the right side of the screen, and as you walked across, you felt all the vibration in the right side of the controller, and then as I rotated the camera, I slowly felt vibration go around the controller as I was turning the camera, which was pretty good. But in terms of gripes, I don't have that many, but one that I do have.
There
big.
it is.
she's so big.
Shit. Wow.
I took some photos of it, and it's heavy, it's bulky. I can't wait till you pick this thing up, Jamie. Because she's a big girl. And
that's a huge bitch.
The putting on the base was not that difficult. It was fine, and to be honest, once it was beside my television, I'm in a good position where my PlayStation 4 was sitting on top of the entertainment unit next to my TV anyway. and it just slide in under the TV, and then this can just sit right next to the TV. So once you start playing, you don't really notice it that much. But it's actually kind of, for me, it's just kind of pretty to look at when all the lights come up and everything like that. So the size was a thing. Like pulling it out of the box, it was just so heavy. I had to. I don't know if I could do an unboxing video with it because I had real trouble trying to just lift it out of the box. Apart from that, the setting up was pretty all right. There's a couple of things, but I think I just misread the instructions on the screen at the time. But yeah, I'm able to transfer all my saves over, all the games. There is still bottlenecking on the network. I found I did a speed test through the console. So here I have a 50/20 connection, and on the PlayStation I got like 19 and 3. So there's something still holding the network back like it normally does on PSN, but things still did run and download quicker. But yeah, it took a while to slowly bring in all the.
Is that something to do with a limitation, maybe of your router or something?
Maybe.
It's like that's one thing I noticed here.
It was obviously a hell of a lot faster than what I was used to.
Yeah.
But I feel like that was a given. But yeah, it was interesting that came through.
Yeah, that seems far too slow for what the consoles are capable of. You know, we were talking about the whole like Wi-Fi 6 optimization, and kind of that's how they're doing the speed thing. I was thinking that's maybe why our providers over here, like they all, you know, I told you guys that they sent us a new router out to take advantage of the gigabit speeds, but then other providers in the UK were also sending out new boxes to pretty much fucking everybody. So I'm just wondering if maybe, you know, new consoles launching, new phones and stuff that have just come out are all ready for this new certification. So they're like, we need to get our customers stuff to take advantage of this. So yeah, maybe look at your box.
Was also a wired connection as well. It wasn't over Wi-Fi because I got pretty much everything in the house hooked up to.
That's really strange then.
I noticed something on Xbox where if I was playing a game and background downloading, it would like take the downloads back down to 20 or 30 instead of getting the full 100 or 140. So when I just hard quit out of any game and go back into my download section, it instantly just crank all the way back up again. So I don't know, were you like playing games at the same time?
Yeah, that it did it for me as well. I think it dropped from like 300 to around 80. Like if I was doing something else.
No, because this is just after I had done the setup, so hadn't even jumped into the game yet. I was just playing around with settings, figuring out, you know, making so there's some cool features in the OS that you can, or in the settings where you can change it so any game that comes this on a system level, it's selecting subtitles as default. So I don't have to go in and change it in games. The PlayStation will just select that.
Those features are cool, man. 360 used to have that, and I've missed it since. The Xbox One hasn't had it the whole generation, but they were like some of my very favorite little known features that the 360 had, where you could just set your defaults at a system level and every game will just default to your options. Even like Phil Spencer was asked about that by, I think, Ryan McCaffrey or something at some point, and he's like, oh yeah, how did we miss that? You know, I remember that feature. You know, so yeah, I'd like to see that come back, but it's good to see that it's on PlayStation. It's really good.
The other one was it can set default whether you want performance mode or fidelity, or like and I'm not sure, because I think on a game to game basis I'm going to have chop and change, probably based on reviews. Right now I'm playing Miles Morales just on fidelity, so ray tracing, all that. It's been great. And then once I finish the main story, if I then have other stuff to pick up, I'll then go play it in 60 frames, because it sounds like it's hard to go back from playing it in 60 frames back to fidelity afterwards. But I think
you'll finally see what I've been talking about for the last 2 years. Like, trust me, frames matter. They matter a lot.
I'm gonna run that 30 frames per second into the ground.
I can't stress enough, like, this, and again, like, it's the only game I can reference because it's all I've played, but FIFA runs at 60 on current hardware, and that means that the version that I'm playing at the moment is 60. I can visibly see the motion blur, and it is awful. When you've been playing at 120 for a year and a half, as I have that game, and now dropping back to 60, like, I can visibly see it. I don't, people are like, oh, your eyes can't see over 60 frames. Yes, you can. You can visibly tell the difference between 60 and 120. And the jump, as everybody said, the jump from 30 to 60 is more noticeable. But once your eyes are kind of attuned to it, like, it is so hard to go back.
Training your eyes.
Yeah, it is training your eyes. And once you've trained them, so once you've, played at 60 for a few hours and you try going back even to that fidelity, you'll go, whoo. I say it to Chump when we play Destiny. Jumping from 120 frames a second back down to 30 to play on console, it's like I couldn't do it. It was making me feel sick. It's awful. So again, I'm hopeful for the 60 patch will be playable. So, but yes, that's enough frame discussion. On with your thoughts.
We love frames. No, I don't have much more to add. It's been great. Basically, we're playing for over. Spider-Man's probably at 6 hours or something at this point. Astrobot was about 4 hours. Battery life on the controller. I still haven't had to charge it since starting this morning at 8:15, and that got me with a couple of times I went into rest mode to do lunch and stuff. So
nice.
It's definitely lasted me 8 hours or so, and I think it is starting to go down to the 1 bar. So I don't think it's got too much left, so it's probably going to top out around 10-12 hours, which was fine, especially when I played all through Astrobot, and when talk about the controller's only lasting like 2 hours if you're just playing Astrobot, that was not true. But I did get my second controller today too, so that's on charge, so I'm happy to just switch from one to the other. Have you guys noticed anything about that with the controller, like battery life, anything like that?
Nah, like once I got a playin charge kit for mine, and once I left it overnight, like the first night, I just plug it into my USB that's hooked up to the console to go to bed. So yeah, it's always going to be charged. I haven't noticed any battery light warnings come up. It's just, you get into that routine of once you're done, on your way to bed, just plug the charge cable back in, and there's no problem. I don't see that going to be an issue. Like even like when we were talking about before launch with that 2-hour Astrobot run, I was like, God, I hope that's not right. Because how did they let that happen? I mean, that's pretty woeful. So it's good to hear from your hands-on that it's not the case. That would have been very disappointing for such a high-tech kind of piece of kit. But no, man, no issues yet. I don't know how long these playin charge kits batteries are going to last for. It's an official one. It's not a third-party thing. So we'll see.
All I could imagine is that they pulled the controller out of the box and played Astro straight away, and because the controller does have charge in it when you get it, but maybe they just played Astro straight out of the box, thinking that the controller was fully charged, and it wasn't. That
I was guilty of doing that too. Like at launch, I was hooked it up and plugged the battery in, and away I went. And I just said, I'll stop playing when the battery starts dying.
Yeah. So anything else to add? Because we probably should start wrapping this up. Any last thoughts? Jamie, what are your thoughts going into next week? You'll have your PlayStation 5 next week, hopefully, if Amazon deliver.
Yeah.
It's not Amazon. It's the big boy shop.
The big boy clothing store that's delivering my PlayStation, direct from the manufacturer. So hopefully, with it coming from Sony, there shouldn't be too many problems. Shouldn't be. Yeah, I think. Look, that's when next gen really starts for me, because I don't think I'm going to pick an exclusive. There isn't one to pick up on Xbox. I will say the news this week Godfall is a bit meh, because like I was hoping it was going to hit a little bit better, because that was going to be one of the, that and Miles were probably going to be the two that I grabbed. Then having Astro's Playroom and Bugsnax there just to fill out kind of. Yeah, it's not. So I'll wait and see how people go as they hit endgame next week, and if those review scores start to jump up based on endgame loops.
Yep,
it's a Diablo-like person action game. Massive swords, so it's right up my street. We'll see, but yeah, next gen starts for me next week. Thursday is when they launch here, because for some reason Europe got fucked, but fuck Europe basically. Yeah, that's my end thoughts. It's nice to have an Xbox back in the house. I need to try and set this remote play thing up. It's not working. It keeps telling me to turn on an Xbox One. I don't know if I have to deregister that console and then do that up again, but
well, that's one bug I noticed. I can't remove my Xbox One from my remote app, even though it's no longer registered to me.
Well, it won't even let me register the Series X. I did the setup for Series X on my mobile. It comes up and it says you can use your phone to set this console up. I did that just because I was signed in on the app. But it's still telling me to try and turn on when I click the remote play button in the app. It just keeps saying Xbox One turned off. Do you want to turn this console on? It's like, well, no, because I know that the Series X was on. So that's what I want to do with. So that's giving me a bit of a headache, but I'm sure I'll figure it out.
Yep. Yeah, I'll just finish my section of this discussion of saying I am so glad these are finally here now, because I think we can all agree that we're all jack shit over all the nonsense all this year of analytical discussions of no news, of hairstring theories and just drama videos constantly, even this week. And fuck me, I'm so sick of it. I'm just, everybody can go fuck off and play their new toys now and stop, pretending that they know what they're talking about when they actually don't. So yeah, I'm happy that is a fact.
I think there's going to be maybe 1-2 weeks more of talking about these consoles around the media and whatnot, but then it's pretty much going to go back to just talking about games, which is much more fun than talking about a piece of hardware that you can only talk so long about. But I'm glad that we all have
That's
them.
what this show's named after.
Yeah. It's not Let's Talk Hardware. That's a spin-off. Yeah. Anyway, we'll finish off. Jamie's got to start the day, and Chunt and I can finish the day with our new toys. So Thank you for joining me, gents, and we will see you next week talking more about games.
Yeah.
Keep on washing them hands.
These ones.